You need a landing page for every marketing campaign you do. One of the things people get confused about is actually, and with our product, Unbounce, they say, oh, are you competitors with Optimizely? We're not. That's, if you're doing marketing, you need a website optimization tool, and you need a tool for landing pages. That's kind of the difference. So your website is for organic traffic only. If you're running campaigns, you need a landing page to create a specific experience. Yeah, it's totally fine to send your traffic, your paid traffic, to a category page for e-commerce. You know, if you're doing red shoes, send it to the red shoe section. Unless, you know, if you have very specific search queries, then you might want to have a landing page very specific to that. But if it's general, like a broad category, send it to the category page. That's totally fine. I think one of the first things you need to do is run a clarity test. So jump on Usability Hub, run a 5-second test, find out if your value proposition actually communicates what you do. You'll quickly see if people have no idea what you do or what your product's about, then that's where you should be starting so that you're communicating properly. And then the simple stuff, attention ratio, take all the distractions away. Now, I don't mean like if you have an e-commerce page with lots of products, that's fine. People like to scroll, they like to shop, that's good. But if you're doing a campaign for a special offer or something, take away any of the distractions that aren't about that offer. Probably the biggest mistake that people make is they're lazy with their ads. You know, you'll surface something, they'll have an ad, and all they'll do is they'll put a search query parameter on that and they'll fire you over to the website. And if your site search isn't great, you know, you're going to search something and you're watering down your campaign because the results are going to be kind of a mishmash. If you have a great site search and if it really works well, the biggest mistake is people do that without checking. They don't go and look and see what these ads are doing. Right? You audit your marketing, click on every ad you make to make sure it's a good experience, because you'll be able to see pretty quickly if it's not. But most people don't do that. Best practices get a very hard time. Like everyone says, oh, best practices, you can't use those. You can, they're essential, because that's where you start. Not everyone's an expert, but they're a platform that you have to optimize on. So from that perspective, if it's a very simple sell, then the call to action above the fold can be good. But I mentioned in my talk that on our homepage, nobody scrolls because the CTA is at the top. And we're doing tests about putting it at the bottom so people actually read your content. So you have to test it really, but the best thing to do research. So put a scroll map on there, put a click map, see where people are going, because if they don't get past the fold, then the fold doesn't exist. Yeah, I mean, it's proven to do well in e-commerce. I mean, you know, I don't recommend you use e-commerce best practices for content marketing or something. You know, when we have an ebook landing page and you put useful links on it, like here's some more ebooks, or you know, the Amazon model, or here's some webinars you might like, that kills conversions because someone goes, ooh, that one sounds good, and they go off and download that, or they just leave. So don't replicate e-commerce best practices in other, you know, verticals, because it doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, using free in your communication, I mean, if there's a price normally, then free is good. If there's no price, then, you know, like say for an ebook, I mean, it depends what you're doing, then it feels like trickery. But if you're going to make something free, show what the value actually is, then so that they can see what this free is actually worth, because otherwise people might question it. On the testing front, people think that A/B testing is optimization. It's not. It's one tiny part of optimization. You should always be optimizing, but you might not be able to do testing. So if you have a low traffic site, or low budget so you can't get a lot of traffic from paid or something, then you shouldn't be doing A/B testing. Don't do it. But you should be optimizing. So let's say you're on a growth trajectory. You don't have much traffic now, but in 6 months you will. If things are going right, then you use that time to do research, qualitative, quantitative research, so that by the time, session recordings, so you're watching someone fumble through your website or your landing page, like I said, click maps, scroll maps, form interactions, gather all this research and do qualitative surveys, ask people questions. So by the time you have the traffic to test, you already have a hypothesis as to why your site might be broken. That's when you start testing. Don't just fall into the trap of thinking you have to be testing, because if it takes you 6 years to run a valid test, you're not gonna do it. Don't rely entirely on responsive. Make a custom mobile experience based on your research. Optimization can't be done without research. That's where you always have to start. I know I'm repeating myself, but put a scroll map on mobile. I mean, you might be fascinated by the fact that people go all the way down to the bottom there, but they don't on desktop. You need these insights, otherwise you're just marketing blindly, and then it's just opinion. So put every research thing into motion, like every script on your page, so you can see what people are doing. Otherwise, recommendations aren't really that useful. You have to spot a problem before you can solve it, right? Yeah. Well, again, it comes back to that research thing, but I would say as a marketer, the number one thing you can do is learn how to write. If you can write, you can communicate. If you communicate, you can sell. People are scared to write, but just start doing it. Write 300 words every day before you do anything else on any topic. Then you'll become better at it. You can write good blog posts. If you're doing content marketing, you can write content that brings people in. If you have a product or service, whatever it is, you need to be able to write a value proposition on your homepage, on your product pages, that actually is enticing. And the better you are at writing, the better you'll do. That's the number one thing I recommend for any marketer. What else can you do? I would just say audit your marketing. Look at every single thing you have, lay it out, print it out, lay it out in front of you, and be honest about whether it's actually any good. And click on everything you've built, because I can guarantee some of it's broken already.